World Mobile's pioneering mobile network is bringing remote African regions online for the first time in an affordable, sustainable, and profitable way. Last week, I spent a few days in Zanzibar and Tanzania with the team from World Mobile to find out more.
Half the world can't speak to the other half. Half the world can't communicate. This is unacceptable.
Our vision was to connect as many people as possible. We're saying we're going to go after the unconnected, and it is actually feasible.
You're going to see the potential of Africa unlocked with the average age of 19.7 years old. This is going to change the face of the planet as we know today. It's beyond the butterfly effect. This is the effect of connection, the effect of connectivity.
Connectivity is the primary asset. This is something that can be realized, and in a very short period of time.
A network built by the people, for the people. If you're not connected, you're just a number.
Everybody should have access to it. You know, it's for everybody. It is a fundamental human right, the right to access.
Same basic elements that used to be food, water, and air, and now power, connectivity, and identity.
Your right to live your life the best way you can. COVID-19 literally proved to the world that having access to the internet can keep the world going on and on and on. Now, why did some people in this world have access to keep their lives going and others were just confined to not having access to that? And that's just not fair.
Legacy infrastructure has left half the world offline. There's 1,000 mobile network operators serving 5.5 billion people. There's 0 mobile network operators serving the other half of the world. In the quest for connectivity, the quest for a faster internet connection, we've sold our rights. This is going to be rebooted in Africa. This is a network that gives people self-data governance, gives people economic freedom of choice, and ultimately it leads to giving people back their dignity, something that we don't have anymore.
We have 3 bars instead of 1. People from other villages are visiting us.
It's your connection that's bad.
I'm just on my way to Bole Airport, on my way out to see the World Mobile team in Zanzibar, which will be their first rollout location this year, see what they've achieved in the last 2 years.
There's a lot of ambition in trying to turn Zanzibar into the hub. Sure. As it was before, 200+ years ago, it was the hub where everything came here and then was distributed onto the mainland. Or from the mainland, everything came to Zanzibar and then it went out to the world. This is now strategically positioned to be able to capture that particular market that is coming.
So all the equipment you're bringing in, is it coming in through this port?
A lot of the network equipment will just come in and we'll be deploying it starting in Stone Town.
And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. You know?
So you'll literally just put these repeaters, right, and cover this quite densely residential area, and anyone that's within this region will just be able to have a Wi-Fi network, World Mobile, whether you get faster data at cheaper prices.
Yes. The objective is very simple. So other than putting on the massive MNO type towers, it'll be something as simple as that. A pole with one device that picks up the signal, a cable will run into the Wi-Fi repeaters, and the Wi-Fi repeaters will throw out the mesh signal. The fiber lines are there. The technology exists. It's just we need the people to have access to it. And we as World Mobile are going to give these people that access.
Another really important part of this is you can see all of this existing infrastructure. You can see guys invested in solar, guys invested in their own ISP equipment. These are all people we can leverage for the shared economy. So we can use their infrastructure for our point-to-point, our TV white space, and they can actually benefit from that. So we are providing opportunities to them that they may not have even thought about before. Gone are the days where connectivity is with these big, powerful MNOs. Now it's with the people.
We're going to a school where they've been deploying some infrastructure to provide connectivity for the school. So we're going to go and look at what they've delivered there. This school is, I think, the first pilot site for World Mobile in Zanzibar. We have an interview scheduled with Mickey, the CEO of World Mobile. We needed some internet. They've installed one of these solar-powered Wi-Fi drop-off points across the school, giving them internet access, which wasn't here before. So yeah, we're just gonna use their internet to do a quick interview with Mickey, and then we'll be on our way. Mickey Watkins, how are you doing?
John O'Connor, I'm very good. How are you? Lovely to see you.
Fantastic to see you too. So do you recognize where we're at, where I'm shooting from?
I do. It looks like the school.
It is.
How's the internet?
The internet's pretty great. I mean, I think we're on about 15 megabits a second right now, which is more than I get at home anyway.
I'm happy for you.
Maybe in your own words, you can tell us a little bit more about your vision for World Mobile and why you're trying to do what you're trying to do.
My motivation is to deliver a business model that nobody has yet via a sharing economy that is the solution to connecting the unconnected.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your view of what the sharing economy means in regards to World Mobile.
The sharing economy to us is everything. We believe that the reason that half the world is unconnected is due to the fact that responsibility hasn't been shared.
So maybe we can dig in a little deeper into exactly how the technology works.
We're using free space optics, we're using blimps, balloons, helikites. We're using all types of technology in order to be able to pick up backhaul from the sea, from existing infrastructure, and deliver it to the people on the ground at half the price and double the speed.
But what attracted you guys to pick Input Output as a partner and build on our technology?
Banking the unbanked. That's to put it into a short phrase. I saw what you and Charles were doing. I saw what IOHK stand for, and it was an obvious choice. There's nobody else in the space that had the same vision as you, and it matched ours. And to bank the unbanked, you need to connect the unconnected. Together, it's a perfectly symbiotic relationship.
So on the subject of banking the unbanked, I think one of the biggest opportunities we have in our partnership is to be able to start moving from what crypto has done in DeFi towards more what we're calling RealFi.
You just said it. This is not just DeFi. This is RealFi. By providing people with the connectivity, by providing them with identity, we're actually going to see the real intention behind blockchain. We're going to see people sitting the other side of the world being able to fund via staking pools the ability to roll out whole countries, continents. We're going to see people being able to take loans on the other side of the world. This is it. This is the bridging. This is the digital divide. This is where we change everything together.
Mickey, it's been super great to catch up.
John, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to change the world with you. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Take care, Mickey. Ciao. So we've got this model, right, of being able to expand into potentially rural areas which have been left out by traditional telcos. And we'd like to make sure that people are incentivized to expand this network. Explain how this would work to me when we're talking about giving lower cost internet access to those regions which have been underserved. And explain also how this fits in with the solar model which you guys have talked about.
Solar is just a way to create energy where there's no grid. You need a battery, you need a solar power, and you work backwards from there. So we know that our node is consuming very little power. I mean, 20, maybe 50 watts at the peak of usage. So that you really don't need a lot of energy.
New light that whips power. One outside here, one actually in the store. See that? Like daytime. Almost every single major highway in Zanzibar has a fiber network deployed on it, so that's one. We can do point-to-point, which is like two devices talking off towers. Do free space optics, TV white space, you can do normal free band. These are all within the realms of regulation. But then you have this element of the villages or the places where there's no fiber. Point-to-point becomes next to impossible, but the nearest tower is probably like 50, 60 miles away. So you have VSAT. That VSAT is talking back to our hub. Technology that you deploy is just cheaper.
Morning, gents. How are you all doing?
Good morning, John. I'm good.
Thank you. It's wonderful to see you. It's been a while.
John, very nice to see you again. I'm very excited and looking forward to being part of this Africa special.
All right, thanks, guys. So, Chris, maybe you can talk to us about some of the challenges which telcos have to face when operating within a government framework.
One of the many advantages of the world mobile model is that it operates to some degree autonomously and independent of central government. And central government in some of the jurisdictions we're talking about has degrees of corruption in all or part of it. And therefore, anything which is centrally driven and top down is susceptible to those kinds of issues. World Mobile, since it operates using frequencies which are not licensed centrally and using demand which is generated at a local level, is to some extent insulated from those kinds of pressures.
Charles, how do we bridge this divide to drive further inclusivity across our societies in Africa?
We need to have inclusivity in terms of communication, both for urban and rural areas.
What impact will that have in terms of economic development?
Much of our economy, much of our social lives, much of our economic lives now depends on digital connectivity. And for those people in Africa, they're missing out, and they're increasingly being subjected to a digital divide between those who have connectivity and those who don't.
What would be the specific key benefits from connecting these unconnected populations?
Definitely financial inclusion. I think access to various types of government services. With digital technology and the digitization of land records and other government things, you could access that from your phone sitting in your village. Then you could then go to a microfinance person to borrow money, to buy crops, all kinds of things like that.
Charles, can you add to that?
We must be able to bring cost-effective communication so that in the end, it's not a question of commercial issues, it's a question of people being included and people being in one society to communicate and relate to each other.
How important is local internet infrastructure in driving that?
Some person sitting in office in Silicon Valley has no idea about the needs of somebody in a village in Kenya or Botswana. And so you need to have that local innovation to get all the real benefits of the digital economy.
So, Chris, is there anything else you'd like to add?
What I really like about the World Mobile model is that it's bottom up, it's demand driven, it's demand led. So that where there are people who need and want the service, that is where World Mobile plans to be, which is a very different way of looking at it from the classic MNO model.
Charles, Andrew, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. This was super interesting and very informative.
We're going now to meet the Minister of Education.
We're just hoping he's going to be interested in the same product that we did in Ethiopia. Doing 5 million ICTs with the Ministry of Education there, so who knows?
Today, we want to probably visit his campus, see the labs, the facilities, focus on the ICT guys and see what capabilities they have and how we, one way or another, can participate in the enhancement of the education system. Yeah, there you go. Just come in.
I think something which would be very interesting as a partnership would be for the university to issue digital degree certificates on our blockchain.
Blockchain is a new thing to us. I mean, one day we'll see Zanzibar, they're talking about blockchain, you'll be the first one.
You really want to make sure that it's not just training, that there's like an actual practical component to it. So as these guys are providing the connectivity, we would like there to be a Zanzibarian contingent that can basically program applications for their product, right? Yeah. And this is where the idea of a lab comes in, right? You've got a sustainable model for it. So it's not a one-off course, it happens every 6 months or it happens every year. These things aren't easy to do, they are expensive, they take a lot of time,
because we come with ideas, but we need to grow with that ideas. Then we can make communication with you to help us, how we can adopt that blockchain technologies to our curriculum also, I mean, through the universities.
I think it's better to discuss the modality, how we are going about. Definitely, we need to have tight collaboration with us, maybe MOU or whatever.
It's definitely something that we'd be happy to discuss.
Actually, we are having that problem using blended learning in our teaching, but it's really hard because the internet cost is somehow high, and some of the students cannot really afford to pay. For example, we are using mobile network operators bundles, but for us, of course, for most of the lecturers can afford, but for the students, it's
extra cost, right?
Yeah, extra. Yeah. It happens sometimes that students are not able to do the online work,
online courses,
yes,
lectures, videos,
yeah.
exercises.
Yeah, because of the connectivity.
This is the first problem.
Yeah, it's a very huge.
And it's the biggest opportunity as well.
Yeah.
We can really improve, make things nicer.
As a lawyer and as a representative of the people, I think it's important that everybody has access to information, and connectivity fits in perfectly with that. I'm a bridge between the government and the people. So whatever decisions have been made by the government, queries, then I take them to the other side, and then whatever it is. I represent women and children. A lot of times you have women that have either issues or things that they're already doing, productions that they're already doing, but nobody knows about these things.
Connectivity allows other women to inspire the women to get connected, learn what other women are doing, and also getting to know what they can also learn based on what other women are doing.
When I was starting my business, I learned everything that I learned online. I reached out to other people that were making similar products. That's how I found out my information and how I got to make chocolate as I do today. So connectivity to me is priceless.
Having access to loan and these others will be a lot easier on your device where you are. You don't have to actually move from one area to the next.
And that's the perfect synergy between bringing the connectivity to a school and helping them create this lab that we're talking about.
Yes.
So imagine now they don't have to go all the way to Dar es Salaam from,
yes,
Kigoma,
yes,
or something.
Yes.
They can go to the local school, and that lab should have all the tools to allow them to do things like get meter, pay tax, apply for any government license that anybody needs to do some work.
Yes. As any other person, to have information is power. To be connected to other people, to be connected to the world, not just where you are or people you know. It's priceless.
From the perspective of the consumer, they're always going to get a price which matches the best that any of the MNOs will be able to offer. But as you guys roll out this infrastructure, it will just get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. What we mean when we say we're trying to disrupt finance, it's really over three key areas, right? The first is identity. The second is going to be transfer of value or payments, right? And then the last area is going to be the programmability of that, of contracts.
When it comes to identity, the typical Zanzibari would have two IDs, right? But then you still have the problem of their identity. And it comes in a more recent finding from the state, where there's always an issue of ghost workers. Ghost workers are when civil service is paying salaries to people that don't exist. And this happens month in, month out, year in, year out. It's an ever-going problem. I think it's not just a Zanzibari problem or a Tanzanian problem. It's more or less a problem in a lot of African countries. So having a digital identity would solve that particular problem once and for all. Anything that will solve that challenge will create a lot of change in the environment.
So I know that some of the things that we've talked about is that, privacy is a big concern for you guys, and it's one of the reasons why the project started. So within this example, each subscriber will have an identity which they can choose to share or choose not to share. So as they build up a credit history from taking small loans with you guys, they have the ability to essentially export this credit history and use it in an authenticated and validated fashion with any one of a number of different credit providers.
This journey's come a long way, and I think the power and the vision is that this is a problem worth solving together.
The internet is, I think, one of the most addictive things that mankind has ever created for themselves. The more you have access to it, the more you will use it, the more you would use it for what works for you. It's every human's right to have access to connectivity that allows them to be whatever it is that they need to be.
I get literally hundreds of these cold emails on LinkedIn or whatever, but when I saw, quite like a nascent idea from you guys about a scalable economic model to be able to deliver internet and connectivity cheaper than any of the current MNOs and Airtels and MTNs, that's exciting, right? All of you guys have such in-depth experience and knowledge about the industry. You with your batteries supplying the telco towers here, you guys with minutes across the world, you RJ with actual experience of having a license in Tanzania and doing this kind of stuff before. You guys have come up with something innovative, and that spoke to me.
How this whole thing works, again, it's a combination of the three different elements. The element of the blockchain, the element of the power, and the element of the connectivity. Each one of those segments independently can match anything that we can be put against in the world.
One of the things which really attracted me to your project was that you'd understood a truth about the telecoms industry and were trying to solve this one particular problem. And I could see how blockchain would enable that to maybe go to the next level.
The only thing I would say, it's more fundamental. It's not like we fixed a problem in telecom. We found a problem in humanity, in civilization, where half of the world has been left offline and they don't have any opportunity to speak to the other half of the world. We've taken off-the-shelf products that are readily available. The big companies like Microsoft, Facebook, Google, and others have invested billions of dollars in developing equipment that really works, that can be deployed at a fraction of the cost that MNOs are using their business models to connect people with. And we're taking the last mile connectivity to the people that really need it and unlocking them and allowing them to connect up to the rest of the world.
I think it's basically wrapped up the whole few days and everything.
Yeah.
This is a reboot of the system. This is not a revolution. Connecting the unconnected is the first step. Second step is banking the unbanked. This is much bigger than the existing $3 trillion industry.
What you have to understand is the business is not interconnectivity, nor is it the access. The business is what you do once everybody's got this access.
So in order to bank the unbanked, of which there's 3 billion people, first you need to connect the unconnected, and then you need to give them digital ID. Once you've given them digital ID, then you can begin to offer them financial services.
This is where the innovation will come in.
Then you'll see explosive growth on the African continent and beyond.
Once you sow the seed, it will grow exponentially itself.
We did this because we can. We did this because we have to. We did this because half the world has been left offline.
We know what works. We know how to do it.
The winner will be the people on the ground. And that's why the sharing economy is the incentive that we need to connect the unconnected.
It's your choice to do what you want to do with it.
This is the biggest business opportunity, whilst also solving one of the biggest problems in history.